So, but we see as a whole, if you look besides of the label of autism, that pupils need more structure, more coaching in executive functions, so that it's really a thing that we have to take care of as a school. And I'm now for more than 20 years in education, and always in secondary education here in Belgium. And the trend is that they now need more coaching than they did 20 years ago.
Wow.
So pupils have more troubles with organizing themselves, planning their school day, planning their homework, and so on and so on and so on. Their tests, their exams. So they need more coaching, more instruments, more. So, and a lot of pupils now get labels, and one of those labels who has risen rapidly is autism. I
Yeah.
think that it's really important to know the needs of this particular students. And that's very difficult
Yes.
because if they are younger, they really don't know it by themselves.
Mm.
So it's a kind of, how do you say, it's a trial and error. If you are a little bit older, for example, 15 or 16 year, they are really know what their needs. They need how much stimuli can I take, what do I do if I'm overstimulated, and so on and so on. So they can, and that if you make strategies, the pupils really need to understand that strategy and they are to agree with it. So my own son has ASS.
Yes.
So if we in the beginning of the year we do the intake every year and we evaluate what the last year was, what measurements did work, did not work, what do you really need, and it's evolving during time what he needs because he learned some stuff earlier, so he don't need support for that anymore because he can do it by itself. So that's the kind of the way you have to look at you have a couple times of year you have to really take, oh, what is now urgent, what do you need now the most, and how can we provide that, and how can we what things are good in the future that you can do by yourself in the future, and what things you need ongoing support for. So that's a really important thing that you try to search for this particular student, what he needs. And the second thing is more a kind of a policy thing.
Yeah.
If you have all these particular needs and all this particular support at a certain moment, you have to, as an institution, map everything and then say, oh, can we change something to our organization? That some things are like, in a way, prevention works. Like this color of mapping is of the folders is something that we did later because, oh, they people with autistic disorder, they need it, but every student could get
Also
better
need it.
because of that.
You inform them about your diagnosis, and how do they respond when they found it?
Usually there's sort of the rote thing of, okay, well, we encourage diversity or something to that effect, but they never really have a plan in place for neurodiverse employees, and the managers are never trained on anything to do with that, so they bring their assumptions of what will be helpful and what won't into the space, or they don't realize that every autistic person's profile is unique. There's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, and I think it falls on the autistic employees a lot of the time to explain what that means and what accommodations they might need, and to educate their own employers and managers, when I feel like that should be standard of being a people manager, is to have some training on this sort of thing.
But it does some of the qualities that I think I would bring to any job come from my autism. Like I have a really good attention to detail and I'm also like quite rigorous, and I don't mind things that are not very but relatively repetitive, which is something that I know I tolerate a lot better because I am autistic. Whereas someone that would have ADD would be just completely, that would be kryptonite for them. So it would be good if employers could recognize, oh, that person is autistic, therefore that those aspects of the job, naturally they would have kind of a natural inclination towards them, and kind of almost a competitive advantage.
What advice would you give to companies where they look to support autistic workers? Well, what would you tell them from your perspective?
Just Google it. Don't be afraid. Actually, don't be afraid of that label, because someone is autistic doesn't mean that they're not going to be able from the off to learn something or to do something particular. Like, I'm in sales, which you would think is actually a very not appropriate, not inappropriate, but like it's not the best suited profile, type of role for my profile. But I do make it work because I've learned some things, and I've learned to not rely on my nonverbal skills as much. So, you know, you can work around it. So I think, and understanding that it's all a question of degrees, right? It is a spectrum. It's not a 0 to 1 switch, and once more people, more employers will be able to understand the nuances and the intricacies of all that, they'll be more, I think, more understanding, less dismissive, and they'll also, I think, be able to leverage the strengths that come with that.
We all have our capabilities. It's just that they are spread a bit differently, and with autistic people, they are maybe spread a bit more differently, but they all have capabilities. We had one of the engineers who was doing calculations. That was the man I spoke about who worked during the night, and he was extremely good in doing the calculations, very precise. So he was of benefit to us because nobody else could fill in that role. So by accepting him, even if he was on the spectrum, it had great value for him because it was a normal job for him, and for the company because it improved the level of service we could provide to our customers. For autistic people, it represents a challenge, but behind every challenge there is a good opportunity, they say. And so I think if you can cope with the challenge, you can discover the opportunity and then move on. It's always a good. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Well, actually, coming back to what I believe the thing that they need most is that frame, are those borders that they have to, work in. We didn't quite work like that before. We had a more loose way of working and interpreting our tasks. And because we had to define that a lot stronger for that person, we actually started doing that for everybody. So they kind of helped us to bring more structure to what we do. And that also helped the other people to work more efficiently and to actually be more happy in their job. So I think that's a very good, addition to what we did before and a contribution from that person to our environment.